And I just encourage you to open your ears this morning. And my wife, once again, has totally changed my message. Falling asleep last night, she asked, "What are you speaking about tomorrow?" And I said, I'm not going to say what I said. And she goes, "Why? Why do you have to challenge me on these moments of, we're going into this thing tomorrow, and I had all my thoughts, I thought, cleared." But it was really, really powerful. And when at nighttime, Aim and I will face each other and talk to each other, as we're laying there. And then when she's done talking, she rolls over. Even if I'm still talking, she rolls over. And that's the sign. It's done. Talking ceases, and I'm going to sleep now. And so before she did that, what she said to me was really powerful. And I didn't tell her this yet. But she said, why not speak about keeping your connection open? And I'm like, so then I couldn't sleep. And now she's rolled over. And where were you going with this? So for 2 hours I wrestle, and I'm thinking, keep your connection, keep my connection open, keep my connection. What does that mean? So I had to think about what closes my connection with God in order to keep it open. And we don't need to so much focus on the negative, but there's things that are thrown at us in this lifetime that close connection and open connection. And I want to focus on the open connection. We have to keep an open connection. We have to keep an open communication with the Father. It's our job to keep an open communication with the Father. There's sometimes, I want to share this little ditty. I'm driving, I think I did maybe during the healing time up in the cafe, but there was times when my friend David, I would pick him up for work, and we'd come into the office here, and he asks a question to me, "What's the Lord speaking to you?" And so as we were talking, David says, sometimes I get funny responses about that. And I said, well, it's actually a challenging question. And so, but as we were in dialogue the other day, sitting in the office, he's telling me, some people ask me that question, and I ask them, and I have to think in my head, which conversation do you want to know about? What's God saying? And he's saying, what conversation do you want to know about? Because it's not just one conversation that I have going on with the Father, but there's multiple conversations that I have with him throughout the day. Multiple at one time, because you have different scenarios that you're faced with in life. And this is the open connection that I want to share with you, that we can have an open connection at all times with the Father. It's our job to keep an open connection, to let the kingdom come through. And it's something that we model in life. And that's what's important to me. How are we modeling this? How do we pass this down? Last week I was in a meeting, and it was generally some older people. And I looked in the room. I said, this room is filled with knowledge. This room is packed with knowledge. And I said, but what are you doing with it? What are you doing with the knowledge that you have? Is it something that you pass down? Is it something that you continually put down generation to generation? Do you model that knowledge? And some of you guys might be thinking, well, what does that even look like? How do you model knowledge? How do you muster up something like this? What does that even look like? And so I have this example of my dad and my grandfather, his dad. And you often hear me talk about my dad, and I'll let you know that he knows everything. He's filled with knowledge. If I have a problem, I call him. and he tells me how to fix something. If I have a problem, I'll call him, and he tells me what to do. What's that? My dad is not Chris Carenzi. No. Oh, okay. So, yes. Okay, my dad's name is Bill Elbin. And his dad's name was Bill Elbin. And so my dad, who I'm speaking of, like I said, he knows everything. And I like that. I like that I can make a phone call. Don't you like to make a phone call and just get the problem worked out? I sit in the office all day, and I'm working out problems all day long. Opportunities, like we call them, right? Not problems. Opportunities arise all day long. Now, it's an opportunity of how I can model this. I can get frustrated, or I can stay in peace. And you know, the only way to keep God's peace is to keep God's priorities. And we have to keep God's priorities. So what are God's priorities in your life? Because as soon as we step out of those priorities, Amy was talking about some of them up here. We talk about control. We talk about, on the way here, as we're driving, Livy's singing. I think it's cute. Kaya thinks it's annoying. So Kaya's saying, "Can you shut up? Can you shut up? Can you shut up?" And Mommy, I asked her politely. I was like, I thought I heard shut up. I didn't know that was polite. I have to use that. And so she says, and Amy goes, "Okay, all right, that's enough, Liv. That's enough." And wouldn't you know it, not even a minute later, Kaya starts singing. So what do you think happens? Livy says, "Can you be quiet? Can you shut up? Can you stop singing? Can you?" And immediately Aim says, we don't try to control one another. Because what does control do? It steals our joy. If I'm controlling you, are you in joy? If I'm controlling you, are you in peace? You're going to be, if I'm trying to control you, I can guarantee you're going to be at war with me. You're going to want nothing to do with me. And I love the scripture that Pastor Chris brought last week, 2 Corinthians 1:24, that we are not in charge of your faith, but we are encouragers of your joy. So what does that mean? That means I cannot control you. I don't want to control you. I have no unction inside of me to control you. Now, before I can tell you, I had unctions to control. I wanted to control every movement that happened in this building. I wanted to see everything through my eyes, and that was it. I mean, how brand flake is that? Hashtag brand flake, I don't know. No, but I'm saying, like, I'm not a big cereal fan, but if I don't want one, it's bran flakes. It's just like one flavor of nothingness. I watch, my whole family eats cereal. I don't like cereal. One thing my dad taught me was sit down and have dinner together. So as I'm warming up leftovers, sometimes my family sits down with me and they have cereal. And I have to know that I can't control the situation. That there was no London broil made for me. That I just have to reach into the refrigerator and grab leftovers that they don't eat. And make myself dinner in the microwave. Me and the microwave have formed this relationship every once in a while. And that's where my dinner comes from. And that's fine. That's fine with me now. If my kids want to eat cereal, they're going to eat cereal. But when I eat cereal, man, you know what I want? I want those Cocoa Crisps because I get chocolate milk at the end. At least you get some sort of present. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. At least you get something else. I don't want bran flakes. If you all saw through my eyes, I mean, how bran flake would the world be? You don't want that. I want Frank, and I want Bill, and I want Ray, and I want Stuart. That's what I want. So I have to learn to go, whoop. And the power of leadership is delegation. The power, do you hear me? The power of leadership is delegation. My wife has this down. I am busy 24/7 because she delegates to me all the things that need to get done. Are you seriously cheering right now? We're putting in this floor in my house, and I have all the new floor joists going in, and I get done with the first section, and I'm like, all right, it's on to the second section, and it's just this open floor, right? So any of you builders, you know, like you can just start popping floor joists in, put the plywood down, and start going. No. That's not what happens to me. What happens to me is I don't like where that staircase is. I said, I am perfectly fine with where that staircase is. She goes, no, I don't like where that staircase is. I said, okay, where would you like that staircase, dear? She goes, I think that when you walk through the main entrance of my house, I want to see a nice hardwood staircase just coming down in here with a nice banister going up. I said, yes, dear. And then I sat down for the next 3 hours and tried to figure out how big this opening is, what I need to do to support all the floor joists. She's very good at delegation. Are you good at delegation? Or do you like to do everything yourself? I used to like to do everything myself. I'm telling you, inside of this building for years, I didn't want anybody else, I didn't want any more work days. I'm being honest. I didn't want any more, I'm like, it's just something else I have to fix. That was my mentality. That's something else I have to fix. And as people would work with me, they would realize how I am, or how I was. It's no fun. It's no fun to be around that. So as I was in the middle of building a Bran Flake church that just saw it through my eyes, the Lord delivered me from that. And he says, where's the connection? Where's the connection with me, Mark? He's speaking to me. Where's my connection? Why you gotta handle everything yourself. You're not giving anything to me. You're not releasing anything. So at that point, I had to realize that I had to live and let go. As dangerous as that was in my own little brain, I had to live and let go. I had to let the mistakes happen. And why? Because the obedience to God is way more important to me than seeing something done exactly right. Wow. I am still wrecked from worship. That was amazing. Just wanted to share with you guys a couple testimonies from the miracle pool. Because people decided to keep their connection open with the Father. Now, there's some that I'm not going to share, but there's two in particular that really ring with me. Because I have believed for both of these things in my own life, walking through the miracle pool, and I have experienced it on some level. And when people come up to me after a miracle pool and say these couple things, it blows my mind that when we're obedient to the Father, He answers all of our prayers. He knows what we need. He wants to do it too. He wants to do it too. So as I was sitting there right after the miracle pool, Marilyn, you don't mind, do you? She came up to me and she had some blood vessels in her eyes that were really bugging her, and I think it was from a surgery. Was it from the surgery? And they were totally gone. These floating big blood vessels in her eyes, totally gone. She comes up to me and she says, look in my eyes, it's gone. It's amazing. And then the testimony even furthered. So I went and I talked with Leanne and Marilyn in the prayer room. I said, that was such a cool testimony, and they had told me about the doctor and how there was a little bit of some butchery that was going on with the surgery, and they, in the middle of what was happening to them, they decided to pray. Not just about the surgery. They were praying for the doctor. Praying for the doctor. And then, as they're praying for the doctor walks in. Looks at them and says, are you praying for me? And at this point, I'm thinking in my head, he must have went ape or something. Like, what are you praying for me for? Opposite. He just thanked them for praying for them, and the whole day changed. And then from that point, there was already some damage that was done to Marilyn's eyes, and she comes walking through the miracle pool and receives healing. Doesn't he, though? He sees it through. That's what I love about my God. My God sees it through. It's not just a 50% God. It's not a 99% God, but it's a 100% God. We serve a 100% God. And it has to be that way inside of you as well. Now, I talk about a two-way street. We keep asking for things and asking for things and asking for things. But are you serving 100%? Pastor was just talking last week, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. And I love that Passion Translation, because it says, all the lesser things will be added unto you. Now, they may not be lesser to you. But are those lesser things have anything to do with God's priorities? No. God's seeking His kingdom first, going after Him, and then He's saying, here's your bread and butter. Here's your bread and butter. Now, He cares about those things. But these things happen because the priorities are straight in your life. And that's what I want to focus on, is keeping that connection open on the priorities that are inside of you. What are your priorities? I can't list your priorities. Your wife can't list your priorities. Your kids can't list your priorities. My natural father can't list my priorities. Why? Wouldn't it be easier? Aim, tell me what to do. Okay, that's good. Let me go do it. I'm done with that. Now what? It's because God doesn't want robots. You have a free soul inside of you. He wants you to make that decision, kid. He wants you to make that decision that says, I am 100% in, and He's already 100% in. He's already looking at your situation going, I was waiting for you. Well, congratulations, let's move. That's what He's saying. I mean, I walk into these things, and I tell you, I fall prey to this stuff all the time. That's why we have each other. That's why I have people. That's why you're amening right now. Maybe that's why you're not amening right now. I can't do anything about that. All I know is there was a spoken word last night through my wife. She rolled over, went to sleep, and I was stuck there for 2 or 3 hours. With God asking, what are your priorities? You can have God's peace when you're in God's priorities. It's so simple. It's either we serve him or we don't serve him. It's either we're all in or we're all out. I believe there's a little scripture there in Revelations that talks about the lukewarmness. I'm telling you what, I don't want to be lukewarm. I would rather be ice cold. I'd rather be on the other side of the fence running 100 miles an hour away than be lukewarm. Because at least I'm believing in something. That's the problem with the lukewarm stuff. It's you don't know what you believe in. You're on one side and you're on the other. You're on one side, you're in worship and you're having a good time. You're at home and you're not having a good time. You're listening to a preacher and you're saying amen. You're at home and you're driving your car. This is real stuff I'm talking about. And it's real stuff that I face too. But it's what you do when you're faced in those situations. Do God's priorities pop up or don't they? God's priorities have to pop up. Because you are a son and you are a daughter of the Most High God. I love my God. I love serving him. I love serving him with my whole heart. I love looking in his face and just telling him that I love him. That was my problem in worship this morning. I told him I loved him too much. And I was sucked into this vortex of worship. Wow. So that second testimony, someone came walking through the miracle pool for some financial needs. And turns out a credit card had a hold on this person. Wouldn't let him go. Squeezing him for 25%. This person walks through, goes home, checks the account. It's been totally wiped clean. It's been wiped clean so much that she had an extra $27 to spend. How cool is that? How good is our God? He cares about everything. Not just about your healing. Not just about your mind. Not about your emotional needs. Everything. Even the mistakes that we've made. He sees everything. He's even looking at your mistakes knowing that's a mistake. He's not dumb. He says, that's a mistake, and that's a mistake. But one thing that I don't make is mistakes. And that person is not a mistake. And that water was a connection point. I talked about it that night. That water is a connection point. And that's what it is. It's a touch point. It's connecting with the Father, saying, it can be whatever. I don't care. That's why I'll look at the camera and I'll tell you, fill up your sink, fill up your bathtub. Put some water in a thimble. I don't care. As long as you touch the heart of the Father, you're going to receive what you need. And it's about touching the heart of the Father. You have to touch the heart of the Father. Don't stop until you do. Don't stop until you touch him. There's many people that walk through and I could tell that the connection wasn't there. But all I can do is encourage the connection. I can't make the connection. When people are healed and I call for healing, it's someone standing up and they're coming forward to make the connection with their faith. Faith is a decision made that says, I am going to go forward and I am going to receive my healing. I'm going to receive my breakthrough. So that water was just a connection point. And some people connected with the Father and just closed in and surrendered their lives to the King and walked out a free man, or they walked out a free woman. Now, if you missed your opportunity, we're going to do more. But like I said, that's just a connection point. There's other ways. There's other things that you can do. Prayer. Prayer. You know, there's one thing. If you don't know, speaking to the men, if you don't know how to connect and worship, watch a woman. That's what they do. They worship. It's, you know, we started the men's conference a day early because Big Papa doesn't like it when people aren't interactive. Did you know your pastor, your senior pastor, is a mosh pit leader? Did you know that? We have it on video. We have pictures. If you're standing on the fringes, that's the worst place for you to stand. He is going to find you. He is going to bring you into the middle, and you're going to be crushed. And it's nothing to do with the Spirit. But there's something about that grossly over-exaggerated invitation. I use that one for Bill. That leads you into something later. He comes and grabs you, throws you in the middle of 50 sweaty men. You get bounced around. You go sit down. And then, strangely, what happens is the next time we have praise and worship, that person is usually towards the middle. They want more. Why do you want more? Leading worship over the last decade and a half for this men's conference, however long it's been, with all these guys, I mean, I love where I stand when it comes to the men's conference sometimes because I'm thinking, someone's going to get hurt. Someone's leg is going. I believe there'd be faith to heal that too. But anyway. But then they come back for more. And then the next night, they're the ones jumping up and down. And then on the next day, we're leaving, and they're the ones that's on top of the crowd surfing. Just ask Frank Cantino. He was actually warned if he ever does that again, he's going to be dropped. What we said, right? Now, these things are all like, they're funny things, and I love telling stories and stuff, but there's a connection point there. There's a connection point there where Pastor Chris knows I'm going to be really goofy right now, and I'm going to pull this person into a mosh pit, which is mostly celebrated inside of some sort of death metal arena, and I'm going to pull them in, and their life's going to change. I learned so much, and you have to look up to these guys too. I'm not being facetious. I'm telling you the truth. You have to look at that and examine that. And that's what I do. I look at that and examine that, and then all of a sudden this person's given their testimony and where God pulled them from and where they're going. And all of a sudden they have like a 3-point plan for their life from being pulled into a mosh pit because they were able to have a connection with the Father that's a lifelong connection, and it doesn't end. It doesn't have to cease. And then when they run into problems, they come running through a puddle of water and everything goes away. God is in the business of confounding the wise. God is in the business of confounding the wise. Every time we do something dumb, he goes, oh yeah? Watch it next time. Watch next time. Watch next time. Watch next time. Watch that. And I'm not saying things are getting dumber and dumber. I'm just saying sometimes things get a little silly and we don't understand what this is, but it's a connection point. And God is just reaching down from heaven saying, listen, I want to connect with you. Here's all these connection points. Here's all these connection points. Walk in them. Live them. Get a little goofy. Keep a smile on your face. Keep my priorities. Keep my peace. Neglect my priorities. Say goodbye to peace. Have you ever tried to get peace on your own? Have you ever tried that? You try to get some peace on your own, and it leads to all sorts of weirdness. I mean, whatever the weirdness is, I don't care. I'm just telling you that whatever it takes to get that peace, why is there this massive search inside of us that wants these things? Because we're made for it. We're made for it. It's a reciprocation. You ever see a sawzall go back and forth? It's Father's love. Sometimes without the teeth. But you know what I'm saying? It's a two-way street. Wow, I really haven't touched anything up here. That's cool. So, what closes the connection? Control, the joy stealer, knowledge. Let's read. Ecclesiastes. In Ecclesiastes 1:12 says, I, the preacher, was the king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that is done under heaven. This burdensome task God has given to the sons of man, by which they may be exercised. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and indeed all is vanity and grasping for the wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be numbered. I communed with my heart, saying, look, I have attained greatness, and I have gained more wisdom than all who were before me in Jerusalem. My heart has understood great wisdom and knowledge, and I set my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is grasping for the wind. For in much wisdom is much grief. And he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Written by the wisest man on the earth at the time. So then it takes me to a place where I have to think about knowledge. And I think there's man's knowledge and there's God's knowledge. Which one do you want? All things are created for our pleasure. That's also the word. All things were created for our good pleasure. But sometimes those things take the place of the knowledge of God. And a lot of times we decide to Google something before we pray about something. Sometimes we ask Siri before we ask the Father. Like I said, all things are given to us for our pleasure. There's nothing wrong with the internet. There's nothing wrong with Google. There's nothing wrong with Siri. All these things are there to serve me, and as long as you have that understanding that they're there to serve you, then you're in the knowledge of God. As soon as you step out from that and start realizing, I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I need to do this, and as soon as you start to put your need on that thing, you're turning your back on the Father and go, oh, this is what I need to do. 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 Okay. Now, on the other hand, Father, what do I need to do? I've given you the internet. I've given you tools. This guy here that wrote Ecclesiastes, he had to go on a little bit of a hike. He had to go on a walk for a long time to become one of the wisest men. And then he said, all this knowledge is sorrow. You know why? Because the key words back there in verse 12, under heaven, not in heaven. It says, I searched all things under heaven. All things under heaven. And all is vanity. I think that if he would have started his search in heaven and go, Father, just reveal these things to me. Just reveal these things to me. I want to see how this happens, and I want to see how this happens, and I want to see what this, and that's one of the wonderful things about that room next door, that prayer room. He's revealed so many things to me in that room. It's ridiculous. And guess where I had to go? 15 minutes from my house. 15 minutes from my house. Do I have to go into that prayer room? No. I don't have to go in that prayer room. Do I want to? Yes. Because I believe there's anointings poured out for certain things. There's certain priorities that God says that, Mark, what you need to do is you need to gather with the saints. Okay, let's go. One of the doors open, 10 and 6:30. 6:30. I'm here way too much. My doors are open from 9 to 2 every day. So, God says, don't forsake the brethren. And we come together. I could pray at home. But it's a matter of letting God in the driver's seat. Is God in your driver's seat? Is he in your driver's seat? Are you giving him the wheel? You want to sing the song? Jesus, take the... You were thinking that, weren't you? Kate was thinking it. She started laughing. But it's so true when we think about it. We try to figure out we try to navigate our own life's corners. We try to go around and we wonder why we're skidding off the road. We've already been given a map. We already have it. The map. All I got to do is read. And do what it asks me to do. And I pray. Life is supposed to be easy. Oh, Lord. One of the hardest times in my life, my best friend Amy looks at me and says, it's simple, it's easy. I said, no, it's not. It can't be easy. She decided to repeat herself. Said it's simple. It's easy. And here I stand. Difficult sometimes is a mask of the devil. The devil likes to mask things. He likes to disguise things. He likes to put a face on things. He likes to make it look scary. He likes it to make to look difficult. He wants to make it look like a mountain. But when my Bible says that I can move mountains, stop looking at the Rockies and look deep down in your spirit and say, that mountain, you get out. That mountain, you go to hell. I am serious. Life's supposed to be simple. Life's supposed to be enjoyable. I don't have enough time for this stuff, man. I don't have enough time. I don't want to yell. I don't want to scream. I don't want to be mad. I don't want to be angry. They're not the gifts of God. They're not what God gave me. God gave me some fruits of the Spirit that I have to follow. It says all I have to do is look at these things, listen to these things, do these things, apply these things, and model these things. And that's what I'm going to do. So what does that look like for you guys? Older guys, older ladies, what's it look like for you? You got to model. You got to model. Going back to my dad and my grandpa, oh, I loved it. My dad, like I said, knows everything. He'd call me up. I'd call him up, figure out the problem, move on. Worked every time. My grandpa, on the other hand, he tells me he had this big swimming pool in his backyard. I mean, to me, it was like Olympic size. It was probably regular size, you know. I was like 8, so whatever. And I would swim in that pool. And I would swim in that pool, and I would swim in that pool. And Pop would tell me, you're going to be an athlete, you're going to be an Olympian swimmer. I mean, I could have been the guy from, you know, does the truffle shuffle on Goonies. And Pop would have still told me, you're going to be in the Olympics. You're going to go. He would teach me the butterfly, freestyle. What's the difference between those two? My dad would tell me how to do it. And my pop, he would speak it into my life. He was modeling it. He would show me how to do things, and then he would say things like, you're going to be an Olympian swimmer. I mean, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, Pop, you're so full of it. Just trying to make me feel good. But it was that. It was those words from my grandfather that I know that I can do anything. I basically have 0 college under my belt. I jumped into the trades headlong and railed my head off the wall with physical labor. All because my pop told me I could. And you can make money that way. And you can do it. Stick to it. Stick to your guns. He was modeling the Father. He might not even have known it. But he was modeling the Father. He was speaking words of encouragement, words of enlightenment into my life, knowing that he didn't want to see me fail. God doesn't want to see you fail. He's speaking words of encouragement into your life all the time. That's why when I asked David, what's the Lord saying today? I can expect multiple answers. And I like that. It helps me grow. It helps me grow. First Corinthians, wow, glary. 1 Corinthians 8, verse 1. They title this in the beginning, Love is Greater Than Knowledge. Now let me address the issue of food offered in sacrifice to idols. It seems that everyone believes his own opinion is right on this matter. Doesn't that happen sometimes? My opinion's right. Have you ever felt like your opinion was wrong? Even when your opinion is proven wrong. Does it make you dig deeper to figure out if your opinion is correct? Or do you give up? I think you would dig deeper. And you would be asking Siri lots of questions. Siri, I can't be wrong. How easily we get puffed up over our opinions, but love builds up the structure of our new life. If anyone thinks of himself as a know-it-all, he still has a lot to learn. But listen here. Violets, listen. But if a person passionately loves God, he will possess the knowledge of God. God's knowledge is using the fruits of the Spirit combined with love to model our lives. God's love is using the fruits of the Spirit combined with His love to model our lives. We have to model these things. We have to. How do people know? I talked about this briefly upstairs a couple weeks ago, and I talked about our homeschool group that we get together, and there's like a 3-point system in it, and there's the grammar and the dialectic and the rhetoric. And K through 6th grade, we're talking about grammar, all the memory work. We're instilling memory work. Doesn't matter what they know. Doesn't matter, K through 6, what they know. We don't want to know what they know. We want to put the grammar inside of them. So that way, when they get into 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, they start to tell us. So what we'll do is we'll put words into them like noun. Do you think a 1st grader knows what a noun is? No. And we don't care. We just know that that word noun is going to be inside of them, and it also rhymes with a definition, or it has something that goes along with it. And then when we get into the little dialectic stage, they start to say, oh yeah, I heard that word before. Oh yeah, noun. Yeah, 8 parts of speech. Noun, pronoun, verb, adverb. They know these things. It was amazing when I started teaching this class and tutoring this class. I was like, these kids just like rattling off songs. And then I realized, oh, now it's my job to put some definitions behind this. So then I ask them, I get dialectic with them, I start asking them questions. What's a noun? And they'll give me some bogus meaning. But, no, wrong. And I'll have it written on the board. What's a noun? No. What's it? You got that. Were you reading the board? We get dialectic with them. And then the rhetoric stage comes. And like I was saying before, that the rhetoric has become a dirty political word. It's not. Take all that stuff aside. Politicians and the stuff that they're saying or spewing or whatever you want to call it, whatever they're saying, it's their agenda. It's what they're trying to persuade you. They want to persuade you to believe what they believe. That's not rhetoric. Rhetoric is having a conversation with wisdom. And dialectic is most of the time one person having the conversation or asking the question that has the wisdom with the person that's learning trying to answer the question. But rhetoric's so beautiful in its right form. The way it facilitates a conversation. Rhetoric is 2 people sharing wisdom back and forth. In a debate maybe too. Our kids go through like these full debates. These judges will volunteer their time. And they take them through, and even if you don't agree with the subject at hand, you have to defend it if you're defending. And you have to come up with all the reasons why. And then the person what's the opposite of defense? Offense. I like that one. We'll keep it. Prosecute. Thank you. They have to prosecute, even if they don't agree with it. They have to have a rhetorical conversation with each other. Debating, even if they don't agree. And don't you know that as humans, we can have these conversations? We don't have to get all fired up. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree. I don't care. That's what you want to say to that. That's the other rhetoric that I was talking about. This rhetoric lets you share wisdom with each other. Lets you debate each other in understanding. Understanding both sides of the story. So I say that to say, where do you fall? Where do you fall in your life right now? Are you packed full of the word? Are you packed full of grammar? Have you just started to talk about it? But sometimes you don't know what to say. It's okay. The only way you're going to learn is if you start saying it. My Coca-Cola in a bottle doesn't get drank until I take the top off. I have to start pouring it out of the bottle. You have to let it come out of your mouth. You have to let it come out. Surround yourself with someone with some good rhetoric. Ask hard questions. It's okay. Study it out. Be full of God's knowledge. Full of God's knowledge. Oh. The perfect model, John 5:19. So Jesus said, I speak to you timeless truth. The Son is not able to do anything from himself or through my own initiative. I only do the works that I see the Father doing, for the Son does the same works as the Father. Because the Father loves his Son so much, he always reveals to me everything that he is about to do. And all will be amazed when he shows me even greater works than what you've seen so far. Perfect model. The perfect model. So, do you believe that if you're a son of the Most High, you're a daughter of the Most High, that you can have that connection? That's what you have to believe, and it's up to you to believe this. That you can have this connection, that God will speak to you. God will speak to you words of knowledge. God will speak to you prophecies. God will speak to you problems that need to be solved. God is in the business of opportunities. He wants to give you every opportunity. That's what I was saying upstairs. Don't see it as a problem. See it as an opportunity. Seize the opportunity. Seize the day. And model it the best way you know how. If you have grandkids, model it for your grandkids. If you have kids, model it for your kids. If you don't have kids, model it for your friends. Just begin to model the love of God. Let him speak to you. And as you begin to model this thing, as you take this homework with you, and you begin to model your life with the love of Christ, God's going to begin to speak to you opportunities. And it'll be up to you to seize the opportunity. How that plays out. But how it plays out is going to totally depend on how you model it. So if you're not modeling God's love with the fruits of the Spirit, what's that going to look like? What is it going to look like when you do it that way? Just going to close with this. There's been so many times. Like I said, the devil just wants to put a mask on everything. He wants to put a mask. It's too big. It's too big of a hill to climb. You can't do it. You can't, you can't operate in this. Distractions. But how many times that I've had problems and opportunities that arose. With talking to people, that I heard something. If I hear something, I will call the person. Most of the time pleading that it's not true, what they said, with the benefit of the doubt. But it's really funny, as I begin to model these conversations, if someone says something against my church, someone says something against my wife, and I go and have these conversations with them. And as I model the fruits of the Spirit with the love of God, it's funny how that controls the conversation. Literally, the knowledge of God is letting him in the driver's seat, and as God controls that situation, no anger breaks out. I've ran into some pretty hurtful stuff, and no anger breaks out. And we just talk to each other. And sometimes they say, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I still feel that way. And I say, I'm sorry you feel that way. Other times, it's a complete misunderstanding. Get on these conversations, these telephone calls, and, no, that's not what I said. Isn't that funny? Mountain out of a molehill. Isn't that what the devil, that's what I'm saying. The devil just wants to disguise and distract and put these facades up. You can't do it. Maybe we could all rise to our feet, and I want to pray for anybody that has these distractions in their life, that's sick of the distractions in their life, and maybe you don't have the courage. Maybe you're just facing some issues that just look too big. Maybe the facade that is put on my opportunity is too big for you. Because that's the way I look at it. It's an opportunity to serve. It's an opportunity to agree with you. To let the truth be known about the problem. The real truth. I often think about like what the devil looks like sometimes. I've never seen him. I think he's so scared of me he has to use other people to rear their ugly head. Remember this one article I read that Oral Roberts woke up one night disturbed in his room, looked at the end of his bed, and there sat the devil himself. His response is, "Oh, it's you again." And he puts his head back on his pillow and falls asleep. That's my response. Now, we're not calling and asking for problems. We don't need any more problems in our life, but there might be some molehills that look like mountains to you. And Aim and I would really love to pray with you if it's something that you are facing. So I'm just going to pray and then release the meeting. And please, 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 if you haven't, join a small group. If it's not your thing, realize it is your thing. You were made for fellowship. You were born for fellowship. You need fellowship. Some of the best opportunities happen when you don't want to go to something. So many days, I just want to stay home and watch football. God says, no, you're going to church. You can record that game. I gave you the technology. But if you can, I don't know if it's Dave or Nicolette. You guys going to be out at the Dave? Okay, going to be out at the welcome desk and sign up for a group and go and we've kind of put them all over. So maybe one will be close to you, maybe not. If not, I'm sorry. But please don't let that deter you. It'll be regular time, 6:30, and they're going to be talking on from a book from Romans or a chapter from Romans. But please don't go expecting a Bible study. It's not a Bible study. It's fellowship time. Have that cup of coffee. Talk with someone that you haven't talked to before. Love on somebody that needs some love. Go after somebody. So if you haven't, please sign up for a small group. Thanks so much to Bree and Blake for VBS again. It was really awesome. It was really awesome. It was a little different this year. We did it at night, and some of the dads were able to come out, and other people that can't come from working hours at 9 to 12 there. But it was just it was an awesome time. It was an awesome time of fellowship. It really was. Thank you for facilitating that. It was beautiful, and especially coming right off the heels of the camp out. It's really awesome. Appreciate you guys. So, Father, we just thank you for today. Father, we thank you that we're going to keep our connection open with you. We keep our connection open with you because you're the only connection that we have. You're the only connection that we want, Father. You're the only connection that we want to go after, Father. Father, help our relationships be 100% in both directions. Help us to keep a focus at the task at hand. Help us not to get distracted with family. Help us not to get distracted with work. Help us not to get distracted with church. But Father, help us to be in 100% full communion with you, in that common union, Father, as we just see you, you see us, and it's a constant dialogue back and forth. Father, let our prayers even sometimes just be a conversation. We just I love to have a conversation with my wife. Why not have a conversation with you, Father? Thank you for dreams and visions, conversations. Father, let our dialogue continue our whole life. Never to be cut off, never to be quieted. But I thank you, Father, that you've created us to have that common union with you at all times. Thank you, Father. Amen.